Hello, I'm Ian Collins and welcome to the Express Debate. Now, British members of Parliament recently voted in favour of recognising Palestine as a state. Yet despite this somewhat historic show of parliamentary hands, it won't become government policy. So is it now time to recognise Palestine officially as a state? To discuss this are the Republican broadcaster Charlie Wolf and Dr. Kamal Hawash, who's the Vice Chair of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Let's start with you, Charlie Wolf, if we can. If British MPs can recognise Palestine as a state, why shouldn't the government?
Well, the time's not right, and the government doesn't have to go to the MP's agenda. I think this was symbolic, and unfortunately, I have to say, as much as I would like to see a Palestinian state and see a two-state solution, I don't think the time is right, and I don't think this helps the matter, and that's my main complaint.
Why is the timing not right?
Well, first off, we have to kind of make peace. If we can get to that, then we can get and sit down at the table. Then there's a lot of complicated things that need to be worked out over borders and land and compensation from one side to the other, etc.
Kamal, is that not reasonable, that the sentiment of MPs voting is absolutely fine, but it's just too early? There's lots of areas that are just not yet in place to recognise Palestine as an official state.
Well, I think it is strange, actually, that the members of Parliament who represent the British people, who had over 50,000 letters asking them to support the recognition of Palestine, come to Parliament, they debate it, they vote overwhelmingly. And the government in a democratic country says, thanks very much, but we won't listen to you. The other point to make is, actually, this is not breaking new ground in the sense that 134 states have already recognized Palestine. So it's about those in the slow lane coming on board.
I mean, that is the point, Charlie, isn't it? At some point, somebody has to give, something has to give, and there has to be a huge symbolic gesture. Surely, recognising Palestine as an official state is absolutely the starting point for this.
No, I think actually, well, first off, remember, you look at the roadmap, it talks about negotiations between the two parties. And then you had Mr. Abbas shunning that, essentially, first off by going into league with Hamas, which is a terrorist group, and then going to the UN for the vote there, and this sort of stuff. It's with respect to sort of a side issue. It's not addressing the issue of sitting down face to face.
But the reality is there have been no negotiations for a very simple reason. There have been discussions about Israel's security only. And that is because Israel wants security and a quiet occupation rather than to live in peace and security with a Palestine which is living in peace and security as well.
I think, again, you look at what's happened over the past summer with the attacks on Israel. Their concerns are valid. And everyone has a right to self-defense and security.
What attacks, sorry?
If you look at what's happened over the summer with the rocket attacks, which brought the
what happened just before that? Israel went into the West Bank, it went into houses and trashed them, it abducted people, and then it started firing rockets at Gaza, even firing or dropping bombs on Gaza, even though nobody in Gaza was responsible for the abduction for the settlers.
Hamas admitted to it. Hamas admitted, and then also you had the problem with the tunnels, which were going to be used for terror attacks. I mean, listen, we can sit here and we can fact and counterfact and we can debate and whatever.
If the occupation is removed, and the occupation is the cause of all of this, the problems didn't start this summer. You referred to this summer. The Palestinians have been without their rights for how long? 67 years since Israel was created, on their land, let me just finish, on their land without their agreement. People were brought in from outside to create, and a state was created in a land which wasn't empty, which was full of inhabitants of the original inhabitants of the Palestinians, including Jews who saw themselves as Palestinians. They didn't see themselves as aliens. Okay, and since then, the Palestinians, their rights have been trampled on since then by Israel, and with the support of the Americans, of course, which is a key point.
But let's solve it. And the problem right now is you have an intransigent group in Hamas. Hamas does not serve the Palestinians well at all.
Isn't that, Kamal, isn't that really the problem? If you look at Hamas, whatever way you choose to slice it, Western governments recognise this organisation as a terrorist organisation. In addition to all of that, of course, there's been, one election, nothing really since. So it's not seen as democratic. It's not seen to have all those components that one would normally associate with a democratic state.
But you referred to elections. So Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people, basically because they were fed up with the ruling group Fatah.
But how many elections have they had?
Well, let me explain. Now, as soon as they were elected, President Abbas said to them at the time, you form the government. They formed the government, and the international community led by Israel, by America, by Britain, decided to boycott it. So actually it never functioned as a government. And since then, there have been no elections because the world said we don't if there was another election and Hamas won again, they would say we would boycott them again. But I think it's also important to realize that Israel has not been led well. Benjamin Netanyahu at the moment is leading Israel to isolation and to the abyss.
So what has got to happen then? What do you think has got to happen right now? If you've got the ear of the Palestinians and the ear of the Israelis, what is the magic solution in a nutshell? As complicated as it is, how do you sum it up?
The magic solution, and I say this with respect, I don't think the Palestinians have been served by their leadership and people around the world. They really need to be sat down and told, listen, it's time to stop the victimhood. It's time to sit down and make peace and look forward. There's great opportunities if there were peace.
And Kamal, same question really. How do you summarise where you think we're at and where you think we can be within the next few years?
Okay. I think that Israel has three choices. One of them is to end the occupation, allow a Palestinian state to be created on the 1967 borders with Jerusalem, East Jerusalem as its capital, and that the refugees are able to return, those who want to. The second one is the status quo, whereby you effectively have one state because Israel rules over the Palestinians, and the Palestinians have no rights. It gives the vote to less than half the population, and therefore it is not a democratic state. And the third one is for Israel to say, actually, we have definitely decided we will not give the Palestinians any right. We are an apartheid state. And that is when the international community will say, we do not accept apartheid states. We got rid of South Africa as an apartheid state. You're next.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you. Our thanks to Charlie, our thanks to Kamal. That's it for this Express Debate. Join us on the next one.